We are 1 week away from the biggest week around crypto in the US. This is a historical time to be a crypto holder, in my opinion, especially at a time where the largest economy in the world is openly embracing and accelerating the push on crypto. But what's even crazier about all of this is how aligned with this push on crypto in the US Ripple is. We have to talk about it. Let's first go back to June 27th, where Ripple dropped their cross appeal with the SEC. Now, they do expect the SEC to drop their appeal as well. We have yet to hear anything on this. We are still waiting. In my opinion, it makes absolutely no sense for the SEC not to drop this appeal and get this case out of the way. But I do think that this is aligned perfectly with what's happening in the US, and we'll talk about that. But I also want to address the recent announcement of Ripple applying for a national bank charter license from the OCC. This is very interesting to me. We already made a video on this. We talked about it, right? I get this. When we think about this, okay, the main thing that I'm focused on, it's not so much about Ripple becoming a bank. It's more so about what this allows Ripple to do, which is the next part of this, them applying for a Fed master account. This is a very interesting part because it would grant them access to hold RLUSD reserves directly with the Fed and provide an additional layer of security for future-proof trust in RLUSD. Again, this is a big portion of this, and we're going to come back to this. We're going to go over a few things happening. We're going to go over what happens on, July 14th, or at least the week of, and we're going to circle back to this because this is very important. So don't forget this part. Make sure to note this. Let's talk about July 14th. The U.S. House says week of July 14th will be Crypto Week, where the Clarity Act, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and the Genius Act will be considered. This could be one of the largest weeks in crypto history, and it could be the week that changes everything around the U.S. market for crypto. This would also impact the global crypto status. And when I say that, I mean what the US does this upcoming week could set the narrative globally for what all other nations do with crypto going forward. It could accelerate everything. Here we have the full announcement from the financial services, right? House announces week of July 14th as Crypto Week. And this is from the actual government website. Today, the House Committee on Financial Services Chairman French Hill, House Committee on Agriculture Chairman G.T. Thomas, and House leadership announced that the week of July 14th will be Crypto Week. Here we have a few quotes. "We are taking historic steps to ensure the United States remains the world's leader in innovation, and I look forward to Crypto Week in the House. After years of dedicated work in Congress on digital assets, we are advancing landmark legislation to establish a clear regulatory framework for digital assets that safeguards consumers and investors, provides rules for issuance and operation of dollar-backed payment stablecoins, and permanently blocks the creation of a central bank digital currency to safeguard Americans' financial privacy." I do find it funny, though, that they mentioned stablecoins and then CBDCs in the same sentence here as if they're two different things. "I thank my colleagues in Congress and the Trump administration for their partnership and leadership and stand ready to work alongside the Senate as they work to advance standalone market structure legislation by the end of September. House Republicans are taking decisive steps to deliver the full scope of President Trump's digital assets and cryptocurrency agenda. During Crypto Week, the House looks forward to the timely consideration of three landmark pieces of legislation: the Clarity Act, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and the Senate's Genius Act. I commend the close partnership between the Financial Services and Agriculture Committees and the leadership of Chairman French Hill and GT Thomas, and I look forward to President Trump signing them into law. As part of our work to deliver on President Trump's promise to make the United States a world leader in digital assets, House Republicans will bring the Clarity Act, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and the Senate's Genius Act to the floor for Crypto Week. These pieces of legislation further the president's pro-growth and pro-business agenda and provide a clear regulatory framework for digital assets. Again, when we think about what's actually happening here, all of these quotes are telling us that they want to further the adoption and really open up the crypto market within the US. This could very well be the golden age of digital assets starting in the US, as Brian Steele is saying here. And it really all starts with key legislation getting passed. Now, we do have some of the background work so far, what's been happening in June and May and April, pretty much all throughout this year. I mean, guys, when we think about what's been happening in 2025 alone, and we're 7 months in, there has been so much ongoing work within the crypto space from the US government. I can't even believe that I'm saying that because it's a completely night and day difference here. But on top of Crypto Week, with all of these major moves happening around legislation, we also have another big week upcoming. We have here from Eleanor Tourette, we've got 2 big weeks ahead for crypto in Congress. Next Wednesday, the Senate Banking Committee tackles a market structure hearing with a discussion draft likely next week too. Then the House's Crypto Week kicks off the next. And yes, this week is also big because this is going to be the full committee hearing on market structure from the banking GOP. The hearing will take place on Wednesday at 10 a.m. EST. Witnesses so far include Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, Blockchain Association CEO, Chainalysis' CEO, and Paradigm's general partner. Ripple CEO is going to be at the banking GOP's full committee hearing on market structure. You can't make this up. This reminds me of when I talked about the FSB granting Ripple a spot to comment on global regulatory frameworks for crypto back in December of 2022 while in the middle of an SEC lawsuit. And guess who was on the board for the FSB? Gary Gensler. If this doesn't tell you that this SEC lawsuit is nonsense and that this is all planned out ahead of time, I don't know what else will. But now let's get back to that week of July 14th, because when we are talking about how planned out things are, guess what else happens on the week of July 14th? The Federal Reserve's ISO 20022 for the Fedwire Fund Service will be implemented on July 14th, the same week that the House is announcing the week of July 14th as Crypto Week. At the same exact time that Ripple is filing for a Fed Master account and applying for a national bank charter from the OCC. You can't make this stuff up. And everyone out there that is saying immediately, ISO 20022 has nothing to do with Ripple and XRP, guess what? I already talked about this. I talked about this back in May of 2023 as well. I said here, if you follow Ripple and XRP, you might want to read the following. So we all know Volante, right? You know, the same Volante that works with 125 banks, financial institutions, market infrastructures, clearinghouses, and corporate treasuries in 35 countries. Oh, also the same Volante that solutions and services process millions of transactions and trillions in value every single day, powering 4 of the top 5 corporate banks, 40% of all U.S. commercial bank deposits, and 70% of worldwide card traffic. Well, this is what they had to say about Ripple in their guide to banks and financial institutions regarding ISO 20022 migration. What's even crazier is that Volante recently extended their collaboration with Citi for global ISO 20022 migration. The dots have been getting connected with Citi and Ripple ever since the Medico acquisition. I find this very interesting. And here we have, and I can actually even open this up real quick in a new tab. This is from Volante, right? FinTech Futures reports 5 success factors for an ideal ISO 20022 migration, a guide for banks and financial institutions. Let me just go to Control F real quick. We'll find Ripple and we will jump to it. So here we actually have just under this quote from HSBC, which, by the way, is a known partner of Ripple's. We know that they announced that they were going to tokenize gold with Ripple through Ripple custody. But under this, we have the movement towards ISO 2022 goes beyond just compliance with SWIFT or market infrastructure mandate. The payments processing ecosystem is a diverse and ever-changing one. While there are major changes in how payments are going to be made occurring now, there are new entrants, ideas, and innovations that will shape the industry landscape for years to come. A lot can happen in 5 years after all. Sitting at the heart of that change will be ISO 20022. The standard will bring together disparate systems, standards, and methods from across the globe and tie them together. No greater example of this can be found than in that of Ripple. The perennial SWIFT competitor announced in May of 2020 that it would be joining the ISO 20022 standards body as its first member based on distributed ledger technology. No greater example of this. Interesting. And this is from Volante. Not just a small-time name, one of the largest players in the institutional side of finance. Oh, also, by the way, Deutsche Bank's Flow platform put out a post on November 7th of just last year, embracing ISO 2022 for a connected future. It talks about ISO 2022 in a huge way. And if we actually scroll down and look at this, here we have a quote, okay? We could use ISO 2022 to bridge between traditional and decentralized finance. Pretty straightforward, quote here from Standard Chartered. But what's even crazier is that we have Ripple named fully. We see a very large number of payment service providers native on ISO 2022 and also quite a lot of coin providers. They include Circle's USDC and Ripple's XRP, he added. By the way, global head of transaction banking at Standard Chartered's bank. We could use ISO 2022 to bridge between traditional and decentralized finance. When you take the rich data into that and combine it, you have almost the perfect innovation system. Interesting. This is a developing point that had been made that ISO 2022 adoption really had to be looked at in conjunction with new technologies. So everyone's sitting around saying, oh, but ISO 2022 has nothing to do with blockchain and DLT and XRP. Guess what? It has everything to do with these new technologies. It enables these new technologies. I even said over here, and by the way, this is in my community over on X. If you guys do want to join it, it's completely free. I said 100% confirmation how important ISO 2022 will be from a major bank employee. And I just talked about this. What's even more interesting is that they specifically mentioned Ripple and XRP alongside Circle's USDC. Standard Chartered was also an early investor into Ripple back in 2016. And Zodiac Custody, which is from Standard Chartered, is part of Ripple Custody. I didn't even state that Ripple was the first DLT-backed company to become ISO 2022 compliant. The connections are very significant here. And here we actually have, what I find even more interesting is the recent move by Deutsche Bank and Standard Chartered Bank on April 21st, seeking to expand crypto operations. This isn't the first time that we have watched as major banks sounded the alarm on offering crypto-based services, let alone Ripple-connected banks. Bank of America's CEO back in January stated that they wanted to move into crypto-based payments as well if regulators allowed it. I said it's very clear that we are watching as TradFi converges with DeFi in crypto in a very large way, and it will be accelerated by names like Ripple using underlying DLTs like the XRP ledger. Now is the time to really lock in and focus on utility-based projects because the next wave won't just bring users, it will bring trillions of dollars too. And yeah, what's crazy about this is that 2025 is the year where all of these big banks and institutional players came out of the shadows and told us, guess what? We're tapping into crypto in a huge way. And, we want to get into crypto payments and tokenization and this, that, whatever. It's because this is the year where ISO 2022 adoption also heats up in a huge way. The cutoff is around November of this year. That's when SWIFT goes live with it. Are we trying to say that none of this is aligned? That this is all coincidental? Absolutely not. This was all planned. 2025 is a huge year for crypto, but I do think that it was already planned for a very long time. The case is ending. Ripple's applying to become a bank. They're applying for a Fed Master account the same time that we see July 14th, the big week, crypto week. at the same exact time that ISO 2022 for the Fedwire Fund Service will be implemented as well. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.